If I were to ask you how you felt about working in a team, what would you tell me?
No! God, please, no! No!
I thought so. Many hands should make for light work, but most of us seem to be of the view that what too often happens is those hands simply drop their share of the work.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
And leave it for someone else, usually us, to take care of. So, does research from psychology point to a tendency for individuals to slack off when they're working as part of a team? And if so, is there anything we can do to get everyone to pull their weight?
There's no I in team, but there is an I in pie. There's an I in meat pie.
Research into the amount of effort that people put into a task when working with others goes back to before social psychology even existed as a discipline. The first recorded studies occurred between 1882 and 1887 and were conducted by a French agricultural engineer named Maximilien Ringelmann.
That's the coolest name ever!
Anyway, he used a dynamometer attached to a rope to measure people's maximum pulling capacity when working alone and with groups of 6 and 13 other individuals, and quickly found that people weren't given the task anything like 100% when they were working with others.
Bummer.
The Ringelmann effect, as it became known, was not further investigated by psychologists until the mid-1970s. Initially, research sought to replicate the findings of Ringelmann and determine whether the lower group outputs he observed in the tug-of-war task might be down to poor coordination within the group.
Well, you know, it was a team effort, and I guess it took every player working together to lose this one.
As opposed to a reduction of the amount of effort that the individual members of the group were putting into the task. Alas, decades of subsequent research using tasks other than just pulling on a rope have demonstrated that people do have a tendency to slack off when they're working as part of a team.
I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
And that lower than expected group outputs aren't simply the result of coordination issues within a team. This tendency is referred to as social loafing. Fortunately, research into social loafing has generated some tips that you can use to avoid working with others becoming an unfair, inequitable and frustrating experience. Tip 1. Increase the visibility of individual contributions to a task. A big reason for social loafing is that an individual's contribution to a task is often much less identifiable when they work as part of a team than when they work alone. When someone believes that their individual contribution to a task can't be readily identified, they're much more likely to slack off. When researchers manipulate a task such that individual contributions can be readily identified, or at least give the participants the impression that this is the case, social loafing tends to decrease significantly. A simple way of increasing the visibility of individual contributions to a task is to use a spreadsheet that gives each member of the group named responsibility for part of the task at hand, and then ask each member of the group to update their progress onto this spreadsheet periodically. Tip 2. Reduce team sizes to the minimum number of people required to complete the task at hand. Research shows that the amount of effort that an individual puts into a group-based task tends to decrease with increasing group size. This makes perfect sense because the bigger a group is, the easier it usually becomes for less than optimal contributions to the task at hand to get lost in the crowd. As group size increases, it also becomes easier for any individual member of a group to justify their behaviour by thinking, well, someone else will do it.
Who should handle all your dirty jobs?
This is an example of what psychologists refer to as diffusion of responsibility. So if you're responsible for organising a team, don't just throw more bodies at a task thinking that will invariably reduce the workload for everyone concerned. Many hands can often lead to more slacking rather than make for lighter work. Speaking of hands, if you're getting something out of this video, please do hit that like button. Tip number 3. Working with teammates who you trust and believe to be competent does not negate social loafing. You might find this hard to believe, but research has shown that working with people you trust and perceive to be competent tends to increase social loafing.
Oh, come on!
This actually makes perverse sense. If you're going to leave some or all of your share of the work to others, it's better to leave it in the hands of people you perceive to be reliable and capable than a bunch of... This isn't an invitation to work with people who you don't trust or don't believe to be competent. Rather, it's a caution against assuming that working with mates, trusted colleagues, or people with a reputation for competence will automatically reduce social loafing, because that's probably not going to be the case.
It's still trust, but verified.
Social loafing is a common and annoying feature of teamwork, but it's not inevitable, and it can be addressed by deliberate action to ensure that every member of the group feels like their individual contributions to the task at hand are visible and that they are accountable to the rest of the group for those contributions. If you have any tips on working effectively in a team or experiences of teamwork that you'd like to share, why not put them in the comments section? See you in the next video.